everyone, and welcome to another episode of Kicks and Cup podcast, a podcast that unites checkered flags and offside flags. In this episode, I will be talking about Liverpool and the aftermath of what has transpired since that Champions League exit. Because ever since then, we have not released anything related to football. So I've been very scattered brained, and I have a lot of thoughts, and we will get into all of them. So if you, I will not be talking about like the Champions League exit because I've already talked about it. So if you want to watch it, I'll link it somewhere here. So Carabao Cup final. Kudos to Newcastle. I think it was a solid performance from them. Thoroughly well deserved win, and it was like wholesome to watch Newcastle fans. Like it just showed how much it meant to them. It showed in their team, it showed in the fans' celebrations after. And I hope all Newcastle fans, if you're listening or watching this, I hope you had a good time and you enjoyed that win and the trophy. Um, yeah, and yeah, that's kind of it on the Carabao Cup final. I think they wanted it more and they got it. Next thing Next thing I want to talk about is Trent um leaving for Real Madrid, and of course people have opinions, including me. There are largely, I think, three different categories of Liverpool fan responses to this. First is the people who are burning his jersey, which like not my style, but like let's try to be a bit more productive and positive in expressing our frustrations. Like according to me, this is a very destructive way to be expressing our emotions, even if the thing that you're destroying is a thing you own. So these are of course the fans who are calling him a traitor, calling how his legacy is tarnished, and for some reason I feel like I have to clarify this every single time something like this happens. Please do not send abuse towards the player or their family. Just let's try to be civil and refrain from doing such things, okay? And the second kind is like the overly positive. I feel like they're just positive Liverpool fans who were talking about how much Trent has given us iconic moments. He's won everything with us, and he has the right to choose what he wants to do with his career and where he wants to go, which is fair. And then there are fans like me who agree to an extent with the Liverpool fans, the positive ones, not the jersey burning kind. Um, we agree that he has a right to choose where he wants to go. It's the manner in which he has let this play out. And like I understand the lure of Real Madrid, okay? It's one of the most prestigious clubs in the world, and but I want to lay out like why for me it is like it is hard, and the way that this is played out is bothersome. So Fabrizio Romano confirmed that Trent is leaving. It is almost done, that these conversations were happening for over a year, and Madrid basically told him that if he wants to join Real Madrid, he needs to do it on their terms, or otherwise he can go sign a new deal with Liverpool or whatever else that he wants to do. He's free to do that, but if he wants to come to Real Madrid, it has to be on his terms, and he bent over backwards for them. I understand the lure, but now with all of this information, like some of the things that we saw unfold this season makes this entire thing very insidious, very cowardly to me. Because remember the West Ham celebration? All this is noise. He was letting us believe, us fans and even the club, that he was going to stay, that he wanted to stay. And the thing is, both Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk have been very vocal about their desire to stay. And Mo Salah so much that people, many people, including Jamie Carragher, criticized him for saying it repeatedly in the media that he wants to stay, that he wants a contract offer from Liverpool, and that Liverpool have not made it. So when this, so like at the start of the season, when this entire contract saga started, Trent made a statement saying that I have signed a lot of contracts with this club. None of them were played out in public, and this one wouldn't be either. All of us fans respected that. And throughout this entire season, anytime we like fans have engaged on any conversation around these three contracts, there has been so much vitriol thrown towards the owners, towards Michael Edwards, towards Richard Hughes, because he led us believe that he wants to say. And now to find out that it was all a ruse and that he was taking us fans and the club for a ride, that seems like a betrayal. And towards the end of all of this, there was one leak of the contract offer that was put in front of Trent, which was, I think it was in excess of 300K per week for a 5-year deal. And even at the time, I think I said that this has been leaked on purpose because there was so much like backlash towards the owner and towards Liverpool management. And up until then, there was just no information as to what the offers are, how, which way the negotiations are going. I think that leak was done on purpose. And now that we are sure that that Trent is leaving, that 180K that he's earning right now won't be in our wage bill. And the immediate update was that Liverpool were able to put a better offer for Mo Salah in terms of wages. Now, I'm not saying that the remaining contracts would be 100% signed, but from an FSG point of view, I can understand that they have to keep their wage bill within some controlled limits, you know. And I can also see why they would prioritize Trent over Mo and Virgil, because Mo and Virgil are getting towards the end of their careers while Trent is, entering his peak. So, was it unfair as a fan to see that FSG were trying to prioritize giving Trent the best offer because they wanted to retain Trent over Mo and Virgil? It could look like it, but like I okay, again, see, the thing is that we might not like it, but that is how we function. It's not like we can't afford to give them all raises, but then these are per week charges. So these are going to accumulate. So I can understand that hesitation, and I can also understand the desire to have Trent stay over Mo and Virgil because he's entering his peak. So now that we know that Trent is leaving for sure, hopefully we see a speedier resolution of the remaining two contracts. And I was thinking this, okay, and now I need to kind of go on this tangent before I put my point forward to explain Trent's why Trent's manner of leaving is bothering Liverpool fans. And it has to do with the experience of being a Liverpool fan, because Trent is not only a Liverpool player, he is a Liverpool fan as well. Right. So for an international fan, and I'll talk from an Indian perspective because I am from India. For most of my friends, even for people who are part of this podcast team, okay, most of them became fans of their respective teams, let's say from early early teen or pre-teen years. And even with that, an Indian Liverpool fan who started supporting Liverpool in 2000s obviously had a hatred for Manchester United, irrespective of whether we knew this rivalry existed between Manchester United and Liverpool, okay? Because Manchester United were the dominant team at the time. Whereas me, I started supporting Liverpool in the 2020s, okay? After we had won the title. So I started religiously following Liverpool from 2021, and I hated Manchester City more. My hatred for Manchester United began way before I became a Liverpool fan, because just the people around me who were Manchester United fans were just obnoxious and arrogant. And like with my sample size of the people that I knew, the one Arsenal fan I knew was the sweetest, kindest, most humble, down to earth guy. So when I started following Liverpool, and when I saw it was Manchester City who was dominant, and I hate Manchester City a lot, then when I talk to Neil about Manchester City, he does not have that kind of a problem with Manchester City, because he has watched football for so long, and he knows this, like, nobody cares about Manchester City, no real fans, this, that, blah, blah, blah. So, but like, because of my experiences, like I was okay with Arsenal when, if we are not competitive, which is like the 21, 22, 2023 season, when we were not actually challenging for a league title, I was kind of okay with Arsenal winning the league than City winning the league, because I hated City more. And it wasn't until Neil introduced me to AFTV, like I was like, no, Arsenal cannot win the league. So that's how different our experience is. In contrast to a local Liverpool fan, somebody who lives in Liverpool, they're surrounded by Reds in their family. They get inculcated into the club from such an early age. They go to matches, they watch games way sooner than what we would do in India. There is almost an inheritance that is passed down from generation to generation. You have stories of Liverpool legends. You're just constantly surrounded by it. You inherit this deep contempt for Everton, for Manchester United. It has nothing to do with how dominant Manchester United is. It's a rivalry that manifests itself in the life of a local Liverpool fan in a different way. Even the Merseyside rivalry, it is something different than me here sitting in India. I know that on principle I'm supposed to hate Everton because that is the other Merseyside club. But that contempt for Evertonians is different in Liverpool fans living in Liverpool. So, you know, and this is how Trent has grown up. He's heard story about King Kenny, watching Stevie G, seeing how Liverpool fans have treated the legacies of Steve McMahon and Michael Owen. Even Coutinho, I think, has a divided perception amongst Liverpool fans, even though his transfer funded um, us buying Virgil and Allison, who were also part of this team that Jurgen Klopp built, and the success that we've seen with this team. And a lot of context that I had to get, a lot of the way that I had to learn the history of my club, I've done it by watching videos, talking to other fans, Neil telling me things. But Trent has all of this context, he has lived and breathed Liverpool from such a young age. This is why for him to decide to screw us over in this way, it just doesn't reconcile in my head. And like I said, everybody has opinions on it, and that is true for rival fans as well, because it is a thing happening within football. And so yes, but this section of fans who is saying that Liverpool fans are being entitled because calling Trent is a traitor is unfair, because he's helped us be successful. To those people, what I'll say is, one, I respect your right to have an opinion, but you don't get to tell us who's going to be a legend for our club. And second, they need to stop acting like Trent's performance was some sort of charity for Liverpool. As much as I can recognize and acknowledge what Trent has done for the club, Liverpool has also given him the opportunity, the encouragement, the development, nurtured him to grow into the right back that he has become. To grow into the right. Yes, of course, there is some mad, raw talent in him. Of course, there is. But he has also benefited from playing for Liverpool, being coached by Jurgen, who was literally like a father figure to him. So I do not get this entitlement argument, okay? Because there has been a reciprocity in what both parties have done for each other. Not every player from the Liverpool academy gets a call up to the main team. And I'm not saying that Trent would not have succeeded at any other club, but maybe things would have been different for him if he did not have a coach like Jurgen Klopp, who saw what he saw in him and then built the team in such a way that Trent was able to show the kind of talent that he has, and he has become such an attractive prospect for a club like Real Madrid and any other club. Like, I'm not saying that it's only Real Madrid who should be interested in. Of course, Trent is one of the biggest generational talents. When it was between Reece James and Trent, and Real Madrid also tried to get Reece James, but his injury record kind of like pushed Real Madrid away from him. So, while being cognizant of all that Trent has done for us, the way he is leaving is disrespectful to the clubs and to the fans. because the fans have defended him. When people have commented on his defensive skills, fans have defended him. When Southgate put him in midfield and people criticized him, the fans, Liverpool fans, defended him. This entire season, Liverpool fans have called out FSG for lowballing all three of the big contract, even when only two of them were vocal about their desire to stay. But he let us believe that he wanted to stay, and we believed him. And while there can be some fault with FSG for letting these contracts run down, I think in the large scheme of things, I think the players were well within their rights to see what the future would look like after Jurgen. Because when it was clear that what we have with Arne is a good successor for the future, there were only two players who made their intentions clear for wanting to stay. But we made a case for all three because Trent let us believe that he wanted to stay. The fact that Real Madrid came in with a bid of 20 million is so disrespectful to Trent as well. Because us Liverpool fans, of course, we believe he is worth so much more. And even when that bid came, what we said was that it was Real Madrid trying to put pressure on us, it was them trying to derail our season. And now it makes sense if you remember the performance of Trent in that Manchester United game at Anfield was the first match that we played in the new year after the Real Madrid bid came in for Trent. How angry Virgil van Dijk was, how lazy, lethargic Trent looked. He was not tracking back. He was directly involved in us conceding both the goals. And now there is, like, with all the information that we have now, it feels like, was it because he got scared that his secret got out? And it was like, I don't think Real Madrid came in with that bid thinking that, oh my god, it is so unfair to Liverpool that Trent would be walking away for free. No, it was Real Madrid telling us that your local hero, the scouser on your team, your future captain, even he is not immune to the lure of Real Madrid to the extent that he does not have a problem screwing over his own boyhood club. He could have signed a new contract with a 50 million release clause, and Madrid would have taken him because he is a generational talent. And while in the eyes of Liverpool fans, 50 million is too less for him, we would have been happy for him and we would have sent him off to Madrid with good wishes as opposed to what has transpired here. The problem is not him wanting to leave. The problem is he let us believe he wanted to stay. He let us believe that FSG were the problem when he had no intention of signing a new deal. And we have seen a lot of players, and I can understand, after the Hazard thing, I think Real Madrid have this way of like being uh, cautious with getting players on a very high transfer fees. 50 million is not too much for them. If they came in for a 20 million bid, I think Trent could have done it. Like Maka did it for Brighton. It's not like we paid an obnoxious amount of money for Maka to Brighton. Same for Grealish. Did not Grealish, they paid an obnoxious amount of money to Aston Villa, but again that money has gone in, it's reinvested in the team. And when Trent has that context of Coutinho's sale and how it helped Liverpool, so Trent has been successful for us. He is not the one who has carried us. It has been a collective effort, and that collective effort involved Alisson and it involved Virgil van Dijk, which we got because we got money for Coutinho. So, like I said, the problem is not him wanting to leave. The problem is he let us believe he wanted to stay. He let us believe that FSG were the problem when he had no intention of signing a new deal. Those are my thoughts on Trent and this entire situation. But now, what is done is done, and we need to see forward. And the only thing left to play for is the Premier League. 12 points clear, top of the table, 10 games to go. There are some things now that I want to see from Liverpool, and particularly, I think, from our manager. And the first is he needs to start trusting some of these players a little bit more. Particularly, I'm talking about Harvey Elliott and Federico Chiesa. because they've looked good every single time they have come off of bench for us. Second, I'm like just he needs to rotate more, because in hindsight, I think what hindered Arne Slot in these big matches was that because he did not give Harvey and Fede enough time in low stake games, to gamble everything in a high stake game looks too big a risk. I'm not making an argument for making these bench players a regular starting member of the team, but he needs to play them in these low stake matches to see how they work and how they impact the team as squad players. I think it would be helpful going into the next season, and it will also help with managing the minutes for key players. And like also with with Harvey and Fede, context is important, because Elliot got injured, and by the time he came back, like the first 11 was pretty much decided. And with Fede, his fitness was a problem, and even after like the mini preseason we had for him, like a way to build his fitness is to like just start giving him 10-15 minutes every two games, like bring him on. And in a low stake games where we've already kind of wrapped up the match and the outcome, and we've taken all the 3 points. Because I think particularly in these last two games, when a decision could have changed the outcome of the game due to a lack of playing time for these players, the safer bet seemed like keeping Mo on, even if he's not having a good game. Because if we take him off and still lose the game, then the narrative becomes about, oh, how can you take Mo Salah off and have these players on? And the third is like, I mean, it is no secret that we are going to overhaul our attack in this window. And I think that Arne needs to get players who can take the burden of creating chances and scoring goals off of Mo Salah. Now, this is, of course, with the stipulation that Mo does extend, and we will get into transfers. But in recent games, when Mo has not had a good game, we have been almost toothless, because even like Cody Gakpo, again, I think has been our second most contributing forward for Liverpool this season. But with Gakpo injured and Mo not having a good game, there wasn't much coming from Jota, Diaz, and Nunes. And like this ties into my second point, because bench players were not utilized, and the safer bet is to have Mo Salah on the pitch. Because in case an opportunity does arise, there's so little coming from the other three. Mo is the best one to make something of it. All that being said, I mean, this is Arne's first season with us, and it's also his first season as a manager of a club as big as Liverpool. So I think all these things might seem like nitpicks, considering that at the start of the season, no one expected us to be anywhere. People all around were like, "Oh, Jurgen just left, and Liverpool will struggle to even get into Champions League football," and we are so close to winning a league. So Arne has done exceptionally well. I just want to make sure that some of these, I would say, I would not say mistakes, I would say rather lessons, should be taken seriously, and we should not repeat them again next season. Basically, all of this to say is that going into next season, there should not be a single player in the squad that Arne is hesitant to use. Of course, there are going to be preference over like which player to use in which game, depending on what our tactical plan is and what strategy we are going with. But when push comes to shove, Arne should be comfortable with using every single player that he has in the squad. So, with that in mind, let's talk about transfers. And I'll talk about this with respect to positions, because I'm not a scout, nor am I getting some inside information or anything. These are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments. So, let's start with goalkeepers. And here comes my first and probably only hot take. Now, there are two scenarios, maybe three, but like largely two scenarios that I would want to put forward. If Kelleher says that no matter what, even if Liverpool were to give him the number one goalkeeper position, it is a little bit too late and he wants to leave, then I would say get the most money for him that you can and let him leave. But if we can retain him with our number one spot, I think we need to let Ali go. I know it is blasphemous to say that, but Ali's getting into the last year of his contract, and I do not think FSG would be too keen on giving him another one or a multi-year deal, even at that. So also I think he's becoming injury prone. Age is catching up to him. And don't get me wrong, he is an incredible goalkeeper, one of the best in the world right now. But we will sooner or later have to live in a reality where Allison is not our goalkeeper, because he won't play for us till the end of time. So with that in mind, do you think it is a worth losing Kelleher for? Because Kelleher and Mamadashvili, we are sorted for the next couple of years. Unless the plan is to eventually make Yaros our second keeper, then it really doesn't matter. Then, of course, Kelleher uh, should leave. So, with that hot take out of the way, I think everything else should be pretty straightforward. Now, coming to the fullbacks now. Of course, now we need a right back. Now that Trent is leaving, Frimpong has been linked. I think a pairing of Connor Bradley and Frimpong would be good. Good competition between the two. More importantly, I don't think there would be much of a difference between the quality of the players that we have. So I think Slot would be more keen on rotating both of them. Um, Connor's injury has been, I think he's missed around 16 games, but he's young. I think also I think this was his first season getting so much game time in the main team. So yeah, I think if we can, sure. For the left, of course, we've been linked to Kirkes and Hato, and Fabrizio Romano did confirm that we will definitely be getting a new left back. So whatever fits the team. Again, I'm it's my thoughts on who comes in from position point of view. The player is all up to the manager and the management and the amount of money that they want to spend. As to who leaves, again the decision rests with Arne and the management, because I can see a case being made for either of Andy or Simikas to leave. Center backs. Now we have been looking at Hoyson, which is interesting. Um, and what is more interesting is to see who will be leaving. For me, it is between Joe Gomez and Ibu Konate. Konate is also entering the last year of his contract, and with the reference of not repeating the mistakes of the season, if FSG and Liverpool think that Ibu seems reluctant to sign a new contract, maybe let him go and get some money for him as opposed to letting him run his contract down and leave on free. And if we can sign him again, but if Ibu is keen on signing a new deal, 100% do that, because Ibu and Virgil together have been just amazing this season. Again, on the stipulation that Virgil also extends. So, and I think if we do get another centre back, I can see Joe Gomez leaving, because Joe came last year also, he came very close to leaving. Midfield, let's talk about it, because I think the DM position is Gravenberch. It remains to be seen whether Endo would want to continue given the minutes he has played. I think in recent times Arne has trusted him a bit more. I can see him staying if he is okay with his role, or if Arne is okay to give him more minutes. It also helps that he is an emergency centre back replacement, and if we do need more depth for the position, I mean, some places we'll have to look at our academy. Tyler Morton is an option. I think Stephen Bajektic, if he wants to be tried by Arne, he's of course on loan to La Palmas. Uh, so if he wants to give um him a chance. So other midfield options, I would say Maka Dom Curtis for sure. And there are now reports that Harvey Elliott could exit if a significant offer comes for him, which, frankly, according to me, is a mistake, especially like this season. One, because we already need a lot of reinforcements, and also because I think he's definitely underutilized and underestimated player in the squad. Now, if this is to happen, I would look to the academy players, because we need a lot of reinforcements. Not everybody can be bought in a single window, but if they can be, well and good. But if Harvey Elliott leaves, then I think we need a proper midfielder. And for cover, we can look towards our academy with Trey Neone and James McConnell. Um, Yeah, if I mean if Arne does not want to use Harvey, I would understand why we would be okay with him exiting. At least it is fair to him, even though I personally think it's a mistake. He's one of the most genuine loyal supporters of the club, incredibly passionate, could be a good squad rotation player, and he has literally looked so good every single time he has come off of the bench for us. I think if Harvey does leave, we need a replacement for him. And also, like, I think we need to start trusting some of these academy players. We need to start trying to give them minutes and integrate into the team. We have a lot of success stories. Bradley, Kwanzaa, Trent. I mean, they're all success stories from our academy. Now, let's come to attack, okay? And again, supposing Mo signs a new deal and also Fede stays, if Arne is keen to use him next season, I would say, like, even in one of the home games that we have remaining, maybe try Fede as a number 9 for 20 minutes and one half. Like, why not? We have some breathing room on the top of the table. So maybe give him something. So in terms of exits, I think I know Luis Diaz and Darwin Nunes are top of the list, but it bothers me that Jota is not because not only do I think Jota is injury prone, I think he's gotten more scared of getting injured. He does not want to apply himself in duels. He's way too cautious. So I think all three of them need to go. In terms of incoming, of course, first is a good clinical striker, whoever it might be. Isak Gyökeres, Cunha, whoever. One good established clinical striker, of course. And if Jota is saying is staying, I'm sorry, but we cannot rely on him to be the cover, not with his availability or his output. The cover could be Jaden Dance, rather than have him bounce from club to club on loan. Use him as a cover, or Fede if he wants to trust Fede. I don't think we'll get two good strikers. First, because they're expensive. Second, there's no point in trying to get them to compete for the starting position. And if we do want to get a second striker, something who is a Jaden esque, somebody who is an up and coming striker and mostly spending time on some club's bench, maybe, sure. But I would rather use our own talent. Um, for the wings, okay, now it again depends on how Arne sees Fede and Fede being used, if he will at all be used. So one, we need not only a cover for Mo, but we also need a successor for Mo. If he signs a new deal, it is very safe to assume that this will be the last one for both him and Virgil. So the transition from like a Mo Salah world to a post Mo Salah world needs to be smooth. For left, like I said, if how Fede is used, if he is used, I think wing is sorted if Fede is used between Cody and him. If not, then we need a left wing as well. So again, there are like so many reinforcements that we need. I do not think we can buy every single one in this one window. So Arne needs to start maybe trusting some of the players that we have. And that is why I also think exit of Harvey Elliott is not, this might not be the right window to do that, because what needs a speedier, or I would say what needs to be a higher priority for us in this window is our attack. Because while Mo Salah is going to be amazing at what he does, we cannot just be reliant on him. That kind of burden needs to be more balanced within the team. So yeah, those are my thoughts on our last match, on Trent, on rest of the season, on transfers. Hopefully we get the confirmation for Virgil and Mo soon enough. They really are the backbone of our team. We need their leadership. I mean, soon there will come a season when they both also leave, but by then I think they will pass the baton of leadership to the likes of Maka and Dom. Um, and I hope Harvey does not leave. I think he's a good player to have in the team. Might not be the most magical one, but man, this his impact this season has been undeniable every single time he's come on. So he's almost as beloved as Endo is. He kind of has a cultish following amongst Liverpool fans. That's it from this episode. We will see you soon now that the league is resuming, and we will try and do some Formula One episodes. For my thoughts on the whole Red Bull saga, please check out our latest episode. And yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please like the video, share it with your friends and everything. And until next time, bye.